Well, the Iranian civilization continues. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Most days that goes without saying, but it seemed to be a little touch and go there for a while. But the Iran extension on the deadline goes for 2 more weeks in exchange for opening the Straits of Hormuz. However, it doesn't look like anybody's taking this ceasefire serious. Iran's still launching missiles and drones. We're still launching bombing raids. Israel's launching bombing raids on both Iran and Lebanon. And Iran said, hey, you're not supposed to bomb Lebanon. That's part of the deal. We're like, we don't even have a deal. What are you talking about? So let me get you caught up on just the new stuff that has happened this morning as far as the Iran thing goes. And we'll go back and we'll review a lot of what was said yesterday and compare that to some of the reporting today. But we're going to get all caught up first. One thing you may not have heard more detail on is there was a press conference, Pete Hegseth, your Secretary of War, with your chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Raisin Kane. The big question here is the Straits of Hormuz, because there were reports that it was already blocked again today, and Iran said it's because of the Lebanon thing. And if this strait isn't open, we don't have a deal.
Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran has continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated, is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting, that we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer. One-way attacks or missiles, because this takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold.
You think they're having communication issues even in 2026? If you knock out some cell phone towers and a couple of transmission lines, you could just cut someone off like that? I'm not saying that rhetorically or sarcastically. I really don't know. Because you would think, well, they can't use beepers anymore because we've managed to ruin those. But that doesn't sound right. We'll see. We gotta take some time here. Let this all play out. Give it like 24 hours to see if that strait opens up. And if it doesn't, then I think this ceasefire collapses immediately. Here's the other cool part from the Pete Hegseth Raisin Kane press conference this morning. This is a little bit longer of a soundbite. This is going to be almost 2 straight minutes here. But the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff goes through, just starts spitting out numbers. And it's kind of amazing because that war is a big effort. It's very expensive. It's costly. The logistics are mind-boggling. But just listen to some of these numbers. At the end of this, we should do a pop quiz. Here, I'll ask you in advance. How many gallons of coffee do you think the military consumed during Operation Epic Fury?
And in order to do this, it required the service and sacrifice of more than 50,000 American warfighters deployed across CENTCOM, EUCOM, and stateside. The Joint Force flew more than 10,000 missions, including 62 bomber missions, 18 of which flew round trip from the United States to deliver bombs on military targets. Each of these missions was more than 30 hours in duration, and we did that 18 times. No other military in the world can do that. And it's a testament to the logistical force that quietly serves behind them. I cannot thank Transcom and the Air Force Tanker and Mobility Force more. Combined with Army and Navy joint fires, we struck more than 13,000 targets. And along with our Gulf partners, we've thus far intercepted 1,700 ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones, defending our forces and our partners in the civilian population. And we remain ready to do so should the need arise. Along the way, we consume more than 6 million meals, and by my estimate, more than 9 coffee, 2 million energy drinks, and a lot of nicotine, but I am not saying that we have a problem. I've laid out the statistics, but it does not truly capture the nature of combat. This is gritty and unforgiving business. It's chaotic, it's hot, it's dark, it's unpredictable, and there's always unknowns. And our people proudly walked into those unknowns and continue forward. And through it all, the Joint Force has demonstrated the unwavering resolve that the nation demands of us.
That's a lot of coffee, isn't it? 950,000 gallons of coffee. And then he said, what was it, 2 million energy drinks? How would you like to have the monster contract for the Iran war? I mean, the numbers were ridiculous. It was like the Joe Biden bid.
A billion, million, 400 trillion, $600 billion.
So, yeah, a lot has come out of the United States in this effort. Will we have much to show for it? Don't know. I hope so. I think so. I mean, we at least got rid of the Ayatollahs. That's for sure. But the number one thing I'm still looking for is going to be a guy in pants. The guy that's running Iran 6 months from now, a year from now, does he look like he shops at the Jedi store, or does he shop at TJ Maxx? I just want a TJ Maxx guy. Coming up next, an honored guest on the James Show, economist Steve Moore. He was the guy in the Trump administration that wrote your tax cut that passed in 2017. Yeah, he wrote that. We're going to talk about how the economy is already just bouncing up into the stratosphere. It's up there by the Artemis space mission right now, reacting to this news. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's all about the Straits of Hormuz. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. The Iran war gets a 2-week ceasefire. I'm not sure if it's going to last that long. And like I said, it's all about the Straits of Hormuz. There are reports that the Straits were blocked. If they remain blocked, do the bombings then continue until morale improves? And speaking of Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, coming up, I'm going to play a segment from their show that pretty much the first 4 minutes of their show today, because it was a great encapsulation that I don't want to repeat the whole thing, so I'll just let them do it. But it was the perfect articulation of what I saw online going into last night and waking up this morning. It's the doublethink, the cognitive dissonance that most of us have, that we're amazed that other people can overcome, because the media did it again. I mean, all of these outlets, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, most of your TV stations, other radio formats besides this one, celebrities, influencers, TikTok stars, YouTubers, were doing this thing where they were trying to scare the ever-loving snot out of the American public with war crimes talk and apocalypse talk and wiping the civilization off the map top. Oh, that's so scary. And then they pivoted almost immediately to what a chicken. And look, I know you get it. But I know you also marvel because you know otherwise intelligent people who just repeat this. And it's like, don't you ever snap out of it? Which one is it? Is he some namby-pamby, scared little baby with a skint knee chicken? Or is he the most scary, genocidal, bloodthirsty, murderous madman the world has ever known? You can't say both things on the same day and retain credibility. I mean, you can say them all you want. But here they come out with the taco line. Now, the taco line is something that they invented last year when the president came into his second term and started with the tariff stuff. I'm going to slap 50% tariffs on everything from India if they don't make a deal by April, whenever. And there were all these deadlines for all these countries, and quite often there would be some negotiating going on, and he would delay the tariffs and he would push it back. And they tried to make this thick last year that Trump always chickens out. You can't say that about Iran. Iran has been a thorn in our side for 47 years. This is the first president to do anything about it. This is the first president to not chicken out. And they're still saying it. Let's roll through this here. I want to start with Erin Burnett, CNN, MSNBC. I forgot which one she's on.
Then you get to the practicality of people that will live in the moment. That's what the markets do. So the markets, of course, right now in futures trading, they have gone up. Because guess what? Trump has backed off. And there will be some who will call it, taco. Right? Trump always chickens out, which is making way too light of it, but it is also...
Yeah. CNN. I said it right the first time. There was another guest on CNN. Her name's Dozier. She was saying this on Wolf Blitzer's show yesterday.
This could be a high-stakes negotiating tactic to try to get them to blink, but so far they haven't. They've proved consistently that they can take more pain, and they see themselves as gaining in political stature every time they force Trump to bypass one of his deadlines, which we might see tonight, the taco, Trump always chickens out syndrome.
And it's not just the pundits here. Jimmy Kimmel last night in his monologue threw out the taco line.
And then, so all day today, everyone, most notably the people of Iran, were wondering if their civilization was going to die tonight. Well, good news, it didn't. It was the Taco Tuesday of all Taco Tuesdays. Our president.
Y'all all had the same punchline. Y'all all had the same joke on the same day. Can you not have an original thought? Can you not think for yourself just for one monologue? So if you turned on the TV last night after the deadline passed and we realized it wasn't going to be Armageddon for the Persians, taco everywhere.
President Trump's critics have coined the acronym TACO for Trump always chickens out.
And there will be some who will call it taco. Trump always chickens out.
The taco, Trump always chickens out syndrome.
It was the Taco Tuesday of all Taco Tuesdays. Our president.
Yeah, we get it. Do they get memos, or are they just so programmed that they're like, yes, we've always been at war with East Asia? Another clip here from Jimmy Kimmel last night. Just joking about war crimes. He's always chickening out, but then he's also a bloodthirsty bad man committing war crimes.
Attacking civilian power plants is a war crime under the Geneva Accords. I guess he figures he's done all the other crimes. Well, he might as well do the war ones, too.
Yeah, isn't that hilarious? He's the most evil person alive. Doesn't everyone agree with me? This is a comedy show? Look, I've dabbled in comedy. I haven't reached the heights of Jimmy Kimmel, that's for sure. And there's a lot of people who are funnier than me. But I will submit to you, if you are an aspiring comedian, war crimes is not fertile ground for comedy, sowing, and harvesting. You'll remember that, Garrett? Yeah, that's not going to be in Garrett's world, is it? You're not going to do a little fun little time where Garrett committed some war crimes. I know Garrett doesn't commit war crimes. Garrett hasn't even ran with scissors yet. There was actually some good reporting on this. Trey Yinks. I'm going to start working my way through this because there was a lot. Now, he's actually over there wearing the vest, looking all serious. But he's the guy that is saying, yeah, they're still bombing over here. I can see them over my shoulder in the camera behind me. So having the guys on the ground is always super duper cool. Let me just play the first one here. I've got a few cuts from him, but it's going to come back to the same conclusions here. Just so you know, it's going to come back to the Straits of Hormuz. It's going to come back to the uranium. It's going to come back to whatever the negotiations that are happening right now. But Trey Yink sounds like a deal's not happening. Donald Trump threw out 15 points. Iran threw out 10 points. Their points are ridiculous. They called our points ridiculous. So I don't know how close we are to an agreement because, judging by this ceasefire is not going to last long.
Now, since the overnight hours, the fire has stopped toward Israel but has continued toward Gulf countries. The agreement in part appears to be holding, but we're looking now at the details of this deal. The Wall Street Journal reports on Iran's proposed plan that includes 10 separate points. Some of them include the U.S. guaranteeing a non-aggression pact with Iran, continuing Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, acceptance that Iran can enrich uranium for its nuclear program, removal of all primary sanctions on Iran, removal of secondary sanctions, an end of all UN Security Council resolutions against Iran, an end to the IAEA's resolutions on Iran's nuclear program, compensation payment for Iran and its war damage, withdrawal of U.S. forces from the region, and a ceasefire on all fronts.
And you got to buy me a Dr. Pepper. I mean, that was a ridiculous line. That's a ridiculous set of demands from Iran. Look, I hope that they're doing that as a public face, but behind closed doors, they're doing something a little more reasonable. My concern is if the guy that's in charge right now sounds like he's just as bad as the Ayatollahs, just a hardcore Islamist, resisting at all costs, willing to do anything to hold on to power type of guy, we're going to have to kill this dude too. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. More evidence that the Iran ceasefire is not going to hold very long coming up on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, we're going to go to your vice president live real quick. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. J.D. Vance is on the tarmac in front of one of the big Air Force planes. I guess that's Air Force Two if he's on it. And speaking to reporters, I guess he's going to be heading to Islamabad, Pakistan for some peace talks this weekend. So I just figured you'd want to hear this. All right, now J.D. Vance takes some more questions. He's going to get on that plane, and we're going to see him in Islamabad this weekend. Trey Yinks reporting live from Tel Aviv this morning on Fox News was giving you firsthand reports that, yeah, there's a ceasefire that was announced last night, but there's still bombs flying. There were still bombs that were exploding in Lebanon. There were still from Israel in Lebanon. There were still missiles and drones that were coming from Iran to Tel Aviv. There were reports in the United Arab Emirates and Qatar of Iran and drone warnings. You know, people get these alerts on their phones now. You know how we get alerts on our phone? Oh, there's a tornado outside of Denton. They get alerts. Oh, it's another missile attack from Iran, I suppose. But it sounds like this ceasefire isn't very ceasing in the fire.
Yeah, this morning there were reports of explosions on 2 Iranian islands and at least 1 oil facility off the coast of Iran, an indication that the United States or Israel is still conducting airstrikes against the Iranian regime. but it also comes amid new incoming fire toward Gulf countries. Both Kuwait and the UAE have reported dozens of ceasefire violations. We're talking about drones and missiles being launched over the Persian Gulf toward these countries. And so it raises questions about if this ceasefire is actually in place, if this is an issue of getting the command down to some of these lower IRGC officials in the south of the country. But what we have seen in the aftermath of that announcement by President Trump is a variety of ceasefire violations by the Iranians that has included ballistic missile fire toward Israel and drone and cruise missile attacks toward Gulf countries.
All right, and coming up next, we're going to address the two biggest bullet points in any peace plan. What's going to happen with the uranium and what's going to happen with the Straits of Hormuz. Hey, coming up, 1 week from tomorrow is the next Parker's Pours. We're going to go back to Whiskey and Rye. It is the lobby bar of the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. And I'm going to do a live show from 2 to 5, and then we're going to do a couple rounds of trivia after that, 5:30 and 6:30. It's been a big hit the last couple of months we've done it. So come on out. If your business, if you know a bar or some other event venue that wants to host another Parker Pour, I have a couple other Thursdays open. We're going to try and fill it up. So I do something every Thursday in a different place. But for now, the next one where you can come out, say hi, meet me, judge me based on my appearance, is coming up a week from tomorrow at Whiskey and Rye. All right, coming up next, we'll answer the big questions in Iran about uranium and Hormuz. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's all about two things: the uranium, Straits of Hormuz. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And coming up in the next segment, I'm going to play a little bit of the opening from their show because it was just so perfect. But let me finish with business here. Trey Yinks reporting live from Tel Aviv, talking about one of the most important aspects of a peace deal, one of the most important reasons we went on our bombing spree in the first place. That damn uranium.
Yeah, I've been talking with Israeli officials this morning, and they have been relatively quiet, simply responding, we need to get the job done. They raise a lot of questions about Iran's enriched uranium and questions about if this will be able to be addressed at the negotiating table. They pointed out that nothing has changed from the early days of Operation Epic Fury. And you'll remember U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff talking about how the Iranians first entered into negotiations before this war began, saying that they had enough highly enriched uranium to create 11 nuclear bombs. Israeli officials are asking, where is that enriched uranium? And if the United States believes that as a result of these 2 weeks, they'll be able to get a deal that addresses this nuclear threat.
Well, if we get the uranium out of there, we have a couple of questions. How do we know that they're actually giving us all the uranium? What if they're just giving us some of it and keeping most of it, saying, see, we gave you all the uranium we have. We certainly don't have any more. Why would they give it up? Because they're just going to keep getting bombed into oblivion? They're surviving thus far. And I don't have the answers to these questions. These are somewhat rhetorical. The other one is the Straits of Hormuz. Now, the conundrum here is if you believe Pete Hegseth, when he said that the Navy has been obliterated, how are they blocking the Straits of Hormuz if their Navy's been obliterated? I realize it's only like 20 miles wide at its narrowest point, and it doesn't take a whole lot to block it. But apparently they can still block it, so that I think there's a problem there.
They not only want control of the strait, they want to also be paid at least $2 million per vessel that passes through the Strait of Hormuz and then split that money with the government of Oman. And Israeli officials say that money will be used to funnel back into the IRGC weapons program to try and rebuild many of the production lines that were destroyed by the United States and Israel throughout the course of this war.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard no. That's going to be, we're not doing that one. In the words of the great Dr. Evil.
How about no?
No, you're not going to control the Straits of Hormuz and put in a toll. There wasn't a toll there a month ago. You think we're going to leave the situation worse than we found it? I don't think they're serious. Either publicly they're saying things that they're not saying behind closed doors, which is a real possibility, or we're dealing with the wrong people. We might as well just should we just start dropping more bombs? 800-288-9227. And I don't mean that as a rhetorical question at all. All right, now, Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins is the three funny guys that are on before the James Show from 11 to 2 on WBAP. The first 4 minutes of their show today was just so perfect in the amazing mental gymnastics that we all just witnessed, where this time yesterday we were being warned that Trump's a bloodthirsty, racist, genocidal monster who's going to murder 91 million innocent people. And now, just a few hours later, he was a namby-pamby cupcake nerd. It's just amazing.
The big story was Trump, threatening to make Iran
a parking lot.
I would say just a huge sand bunker.
Yeah. That too, yes.
But it didn't happen.
No, it did not happen.
No.
And the fascinating thing has been the reaction to this from the usual suspects. You know, the same people who were bleating about war crimes are now like, that Trump chickened out.
It is unreal.
Yeah, he went from madman to Kitty just like that.
Yes.
Yes.
He's crazy insane.
Empty threats.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. I saw Erin Burnett on CNN. It was almost like she was bummed out that Trump didn't drop a bomb on Iran.
Really? Okay.
There will be some who will call it, taco. Right? Trump always chickens out, which is making way too light of it, but it is also a truth, which is that he makes giant threats that he does not follow through on. Yeah. So it's one thing for everyone to say, well, nobody wanted him to do this. And it's another to say that the word of the president of the United States is now something that people do not think that they can take at his word. Oh, that they expect it to be just a quick trading opportunity every single time.
That is remarkable.
It is. I have whiplash. Yeah. I mean, it's stunning, the turnaround.
He threatened Iran before. we have the strikes.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible. It's awful. It's terrible. He's doing this.
Yes.
And then he says, tomorrow, we're going to do more. And the next day, they do more. And you've got Pete Hegseth raising Cane out there saying the guy is not bluffing. And boom, hit him again. Day after day after day. And now it's, well, here it is, because it's true. I mean, he threatens stuff, and then he doesn't do it.
I know. It's like,
that's remarkable.
He didn't do it. I mean, the U.S. took out the supreme leader in like 30 seconds.
Yes.
I mean, what are you talking about? This is just a sickness. This is everything Trump does is bad, so we've got to spin it one way or the other. That's basically it. And all these people saying like, oh, this terrible geopolitical loss for us because now the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed. Iran controls it. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this is just my dumb guy take, but it's like, okay, it looks like Iran's playing the only card it's really got left, which is holding up the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes.
That's it.
And the other part, like Aaron Burnett, if you go before Operation Midnight Hammer, right?
Yeah.
Well, they don't even have what it takes to make a nuke. They really don't have it. Mays Moore put this together. Okay, after Midnight Hammer, well, they still have enough to make a nuke like 9 times. Felt like Midnight Hammer was a failure. And now it's, well, he bluffs. The whole premise for these people is it's got to be negative if it involves the president.
Yeah.
That's it.
They're pining away for political losses with Donald Trump. That's all this is. It's almost as if they had that response in their back pocket just in case. Because they went with it just like that. I mean, just turned it around. Boom.
If you have the take, hey, maybe he shouldn't have threatened to end their civilization. That sort of rhetoric is dangerous. You want to have that take? Fine. I get it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But to say, well, now, people are going to say taco because, there's some truth to that. Okay. Now, as far as ABC, the coverage, John Kyle had a conversation with the president, and they wanted to highlight that, and apparently this is how it went.
This is the most stunning reversal that I think we have ever seen in American politics. In about 10 hours, the president goes from threatening the annihilation of Iranian civilization to saying he's got an agreement that will bring about a golden age of peace in the Middle East.
John, have you covered this guy for the last 10 years?
I know that this dude is, Trump's got John Carroll on speed dial for some reason.
Yes.
And it's like, how is this the most stunning reversal in American politics? Trump does this all the time.
Yes.
It's like, we can be worst enemies or best friends. What
Yes.
are you going to do to help me? That's how he operates.
The other part is he usually knows the end goal of what he wants. He's not going to tell you what it is. Mm-hmm. He might say it's a whole lot more than that, but he'll be happy settling at a certain point, but you don't know what it is. And from there, it's all the art of the deal. It's in his book.
And that was Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins this morning on WBAP. To the phones we go. Anna, Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James. How are you?
Hey, Anna.
Hi. So I have a comment about Iran and, why we continue to bomb them and they continue to come back over and over and over. This is just my perspective is that we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but we're fighting against principalities. And the Bible is very clear about this. It's not that we're fighting against humans. We're fighting against principalities and demonic forces. So this is why we keep, they keep coming back over and over and over. That's what I really wanted to say.
Yes, Ephesians 6:12. Our struggle's not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, authorities, principalities, dark forces. Yeah.
Correct.
Makes sense to me. I have no argument with that, Anna. I mean, it's apparently we can't just blow up our way to peace over there. So some people are going to have to change some hearts. I think Anna's kind of spot on. All right, right before the James show, Carolyn Levitt, the White House spokesperson, had a press conference. I'll play a few highlights from that, all the good parts in the question and answer session. You'll hear it next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, they're just showing ships going through the Straits of Hormuz. That's kind of a good sign. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to the James Show. The Iran war gets a 2-week ceasefire. Doesn't seem to be holding too well, but we'll see. Carolyn Levitt, right before the James Show, came out and gave a press conference today. I'm going to play a couple of clips from her opening statements, but all the rest of the good stuff is going to be in the question and answer session. But I would be remiss if I didn't just cover the exposition here, where she comes out and she gives a summary of the Iran war successes thus far. And this takes about a minute and a half, but there's no way you can shorten this up without leaving out vital information, because all of this are the bricks that are being laid to build the case, to build the story for why we did this in the first place. Why is this a good thing? What are we doing here?
With respect to the 2-week ceasefire announced by President Trump last night, this is a victory for the United States of America that the president and our incredible military made happen. From the very beginning of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump stated this would be a 4 to 6 week military operation to dismantle the military threat posed by the radical Islamic Iranian regime. Thanks to the unbelievable capabilities of America's war fighters, the United States has achieved and exceeded those core military objectives in just 38 days. The U.S. military destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, crushing the regime's ability to manufacture weapons that they and their proxies use to maim and kill Americans and terrorize the world. Iran's ability to build and stockpile ballistic missiles and long-range drones has also been set back by years compared to where it was 6 weeks ago prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury. We destroyed the vast majority of Iran's ballistic missiles, launcher vehicles, and long-range attack drones through more than 450 strikes on ballistic missiles and approximately 800 strikes on Iran's drone launching units and storage facilities. In total, more than 13,000 targets across Iran were struck. Again, this is in the matter of just 38 days.
All right, and then we're going to pivot from the successes of the American military in the Iran war to this seems to be the inventory list of all the ways Iran has been crippled.
The Iranian Navy was completely annihilated. The United States destroyed more than 150 naval vessels in total, including 16 entire classes of Iranian warships. Despite once being the largest undersea force in the Middle East, Iran now has 0 submarine vessels. 97% of Iran's once massive inventory of more than 5,000 naval mines has also been targeted and destroyed. Iran's air forces are functionally and operationally irrelevant at this point, after the United States maintained total air dominance over their country for weeks on end. To underscore the significance of this, before Operation Epic Fury, the Iranian Air Force would fly between 30 to 100 flights per day. Today, that number is 0. Iran's ability to fund and support its terrorist proxies has been greatly reduced. At this point, Iran can no longer distribute weapons to its proxies in the region. And most importantly, Iran will not be able to acquire nuclear weapons.
Whew. Okay, so now you're all caught up. The Iran proposal that have been floated around. J.D. Vance, you heard him talk about this in the last segment. There's been several claim proposals that this is what Iran wants, and some of them don't match the other ones, and some of them the Farsi version doesn't match the English version. But Carolyn Levitt sounded like they're all absurd.
The president's red lines, namely the end of Iranian enrichment in Iran, have not changed. And the idea that President Trump would ever accept an Iranian wish list as a deal is completely absurd. The president will only make a deal that serves in the best interests of the United States of America, and he as a negotiating team will focus on this effort over the next 2 weeks, so long as the Strait of Hormuz remains open with no limitations or delays.
All right, one point of contention almost immediately in the ceasefire that was announced last night. Israel did some strikes in Lebanon, and Iran said that violated the ceasefire agreement, which Lebanon wasn't in our ceasefire agreement. I didn't see that anywhere in the paperwork, or I don't know what verbal agreement they have going on. But then that's why Iran says that they were launching missiles and drones at other people last night, including Israel, also Qatar, UAE.
Danny.
Thanks, Karen. Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? Because as you know, there have been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire. As you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement last night in support of the ceasefire, in support of the United States' efforts, and he's also assured the president they'll continue to be a helpful partner throughout the course of the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and then she was asked about the uranium situation in the press conference. This is Carolyn Levitt right before the James Show started.
Highly enriched uranium. Has Iran given the administration any indication that it would simply turn over the enriched uranium, or is this an expectation that the president has that he would have to send in ground troops in order to do that?
This is on the top of the priority list for the president and his negotiating team as they head into this next round of discussions. And as I said in my opener, that is a red line that the president is not going to back away from, and he's committed to ensuring that takes place. We hope it will be through diplomacy.
Have they given any indication that they would turn it over?
They have.
They have.
Yes.
Now, that's the first time I heard of that was right before the James Show started from Carolyn Levitt. There has been indications that they would be open to turning it over under the right circumstances. Wow. Coming up next, political commentator Raven Harrison on the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners here in North Texas. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. We have storms that are coming in. It is storm season. And if you have any doubts about your roof holding up through storm season, go ahead and call Blue Ribbon Roofing. There's no downside to it. Number one, it doesn't cost anything. For John to come out, put up his ladder, check out your roof, take some pictures, give you a folder, you don't get charged for that. And if they don't find anything, then it sets a good baseline. The pictures and the documentation for if you ever do have an issue with your roof in the future, this is evidence you can give your insurance company to make sure the claims process is as smooth as possible. So whenever you see this bad weather over the next few days, and then you see a shingle missing, or you see a bunch of that little gravel coming off the shingles of your roof, or you think maybe is that a brown spot in my ceiling? Remember, blueribbondfw.com. blueribbondfw.com. All right, we're keeping you updated on the Iran war. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Here to give us an assist is the great Raven Harrison, political commentator and regular on the James Show. Welcome back, Raven. How's it going? So the Iran war gets a 2-week ceasefire, but is this going to hold? It sounds like no one's paying attention to the fact that the Strait of Hormuz are supposed to be closed and Iran's not supposed to be bombing anybody and we're not supposed to be bombing anybody. I mean, is this even really a ceasefire? So how are they still blocking the Straits of Hormuz if their navy is supposedly obliterated? So if we get to the end of the 2 weeks and we haven't agreed on a peace plan, what do you think happens there? Bombs away? So the Straits of Hormuz, that seems to be one of the things that everything is hinging on. The other one, the uranium. Are we going to get the uranium out of there, or do we have to get the uranium out of there to declare victory? All right, Raven Harrison. I hate asking impossible questions, but I know. Are we going to have to blow this guy up? If we're not getting better deals than this, if we're not getting better negotiations with this, I think we have to get down to the next guy, because I'm looking for a guy that's not dressed like a Jedi. I want him to look like he dresses it from Old Navy, and I don't think we have that guy yet. All right, Raven Harrison. We're going to keep an eye on this. I want to hear from you soon whenever this ceasefire either comes to fruition or fall apart. We'll have to chat again. All right. Where can we find your work online? Thank you very much, Raven Harrison. All right, coming up next, we're going to tap the brakes on the Iran war just for a bit and talk about the data center debate here in North Texas. I mean, this is happening in about 5 different jurisdictions right now, and it's the same set of arguments that are happening in each place. We'll address them next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Who's afraid of a data center? Apparently a lot of people. I'm James Parker, Newstalk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, they're going to keep building these things because we need data centers. You understand? And when you type in these things to your phone and it just magically goes off and comes back with an answer, this is where it goes to. It goes to data centers. And look, the data centers are going to be built. The real question is, where? This feels just like so many of these other economically related issues we have, like oil, when they're like, well, we shouldn't be drilling on, this state park or in this offshore area or in this protected habitat. Well, we're going to get the oil from somewhere, and it's going to be from somewhere in nature, right? We're not sticking an oil rig in the middle of downtown anywhere. So you're just trading off one habitat for another. Same thing with data centers. They're going to be built. Do you want them to be here? Do you want the power? Do you want the employment? Do you want the revenue? Do you want the economic activity here? Or do you want to push it somewhere else? This is one of the dumbest things in the world. It's not as bad as the bomb threats, right? But it's pretty close. You have a bunch of people who are upset and they don't even really know why they're upset. And I have conversations with them and they just keep leapfrogging to the next thing. And you learn that they don't want to be calmed down. They want to be upset. And even if you answer their concerns, they remain upset. So there's an emotional pull here that's really hard to overcome. And the media is not very helpful on this because they do the thing where if they like the idea, then they give it glowing coverage. If they don't like the idea, they talk about how it's controversial and how there's pushback. And so if it's City Hall, something as dumb as blowing up City Hall and building another one somewhere else, taking $1 billion building or whatever it is, and blowing it up and rebuilding it somewhere else, a building that's already paid off. They don't talk about all the pushback. They don't call it controversial. But if you want a private sector entity to use their own money, not affecting you, not affecting your money, not affecting your power or your water or anything, maybe affecting the people who own the property adjacent to them because they have to look at it, maybe hear it. But for the rest of you, this is none of your damn business. But check out how it's reported. This is from a couple days ago. Data center pushback I'm sorry, I think this is a Fort Worth one.
Midday data centers are coming to communities across Texas, but not without pushback. The community meeting on tap tonight. Welcome back to Midday on this Tuesday. I'm Morgan Young. We are seeing a surge across the state and plans for new data centers, some of which, again, getting serious pushback.
Yeah, say
tonight,
pushback
Granbury
again.
City leaders will take up this issue again. Chris Sadeghi has the details.
Data centers like this one in Hood County are popping up all across the state of Texas, and communities are trying to make sure they don't encroach on their neighborhoods. That's why we have our eyes on a couple of meetings.
Hang on. Look, we're already 30 seconds into this. They haven't said one nice thing about data centers. Let's see if they say one nice thing about data centers. The jobs that they create, the economic incentive, the economic, there's like, when they say the World Cup's coming here, yes, this is going to generate $480 million worth of economic activity. Well, it's because they like that. Do we get anything positive about data centers here?
This week, the first one tonight here in Granbury, where the people here have already flooded the Hood County Commissioners meetings lately, asking for a moratorium on these data center projects, but so far without success. Now the city of Granbury taking up the issue. Their Planning and Zoning Commission is holding a public hearing tonight on a zoning ordinance to 2,600 acres recently annexed for a data center. The agenda item says the purpose is to add, define, and list supplemental standards for data centers. Cities and counties across Texas are having this same conversation as people have expressed environmental concerns, noise concerns, and other side effects they fear these centers bring to their neighborhoods. Enough pushback that a Texas House committee will hold a hearing in Austin on Thursday to study the development and impact of data centers. On the agenda for that meeting in Austin, several of the CEOs of these companies.
I'll save you the trouble. They're not going to say one nice thing about it. And they're not building a data center. Data centers are encroaching on the neighborhood. See, they're diabolical. Building something new isn't revitalizing in this instance. It's encroaching. It's not progress. Encroaching. It's controversial. They said pushback 3 times. let me give you the counterexample. WFAA did a story a couple days ago about how the Fair Park's being revitalized. They're spending millions and millions of your dollars. Now, in Fair Park, this is money that is taken from you. This is costing you money for services that you're not going to be a part of. You're not going to go see this fountain. You're not going to go smell the flowers in this new flower bed that they just planted. You're probably not going to go to any of the buildings that are getting some new tile or new walkway or some new LED lights or whatever the heck they're doing. This is money taken from you, absolutely flushed down the toilet with no use, no utility, no service to the outside world. On the other hand, we have a data center, the thing that makes your phone work, the thing that makes the internet work. Every time you do with these online transactions, every time you pay your bills online, every time you get on social media and share a picture, every time you do anything that requires this phone to talk to the outside world, you're getting the miracle of data centers. And what are they called? Encroaching, pushback, ugly, controversial, power, concerning, encroaching, Fair Park, flushing your money down the toilet. Listen to how glowing the coverage is of this stupidity.
The Texas Woofus, one of the fountains flowing again at Fair Park. Dallas leaders say this time the progress is real.
You're going to see the grass.
The progress? They're flushing your money down the toilet. Isn't this great? No one's getting anything out of it. It's not making your phone work. It's not creating jobs. We're just flushing your money down the toilet, and it's progress. It's not controversial. They don't talk about the pushback. See if they say anything negative about this clear waste of your money.
This is green. You're going to see there are flowers in there, and you're going to see the fountains operable again.
Dallas Park and Recreation Director John Jenkins told City Council the city's finally moving from talk to action.
How big a deal would that be for Dallas to finally figure this out?
Yeah, I think this is probably the biggest problem that hasn't been solved in the 50 years I've been watching this from afar.
After the city took back control of Fair Park from Oakview Group in September, ending a 6-year management deal that broke down over maintenance, money, and oversight, Jenkins says crews have upgraded HVAC systems in several buildings, improved the landscaping, and overseen renovations at the African American Museum. Councilmember Adam Basil-Dua says the change is long overdue.
There was never any innovative thinking, and this is truly exciting.
Jenkins says the next step is redeveloping 45 acres of parking lots. A hotel, retail, restaurants, and sports and entertainment could go there.
This is not a stop and go or reset. We finally have a good plan in place that we're actually implementing.
He says the new development could generate the money needed to help preserve Fair Park so the historic buildings stay standing and the fountains keep flowing. In Dallas, I'm Luke Clary.
Yes, we're generating economic activity to save the old building. And then tomorrow they're going to give you a report about the other old building, City Hall. There's no need to save that. In fact, we need to tear that down as fast as possible. There's no consistency here. It makes no sense to be that glowing about Fair Park or to be that negative about the City Hall demolition plan and not support data centers. What the heck is going on? Data center, something that actually you get a return on investment from, and it doesn't even cost you anything. It's wild. 800-288-9227. I have a bunch of people who are going to argue with me about data centers next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, we're talking about data centers in Texas. They've got to be built somewhere. Do you want them here or do you want them in India? Do you want them in Mexico? Do you want them in some other country? Do you want them in Canada? Do you want them in Oklahoma? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And the one thing that should make you the most suspicious about the anti-data center effort is the people who are telling you you should be scared of data centers. Remember, the people who are telling you now that you should be scared of data centers, that data centers, you can't trust them. You don't know what's going to happen. These things cause all kinds of problems. Really? Are these the people that were telling you a year ago that we would be in a recession right now? Are these the same people that were telling you 2 years ago that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack? Are these the same people that told you Charlie Kirk's assassin was MAGA? Are these the same people that told you last year was going to be an above average year for hurricanes and then we had none? Are these the same people that told you inflation was transitory? The vaccine stops the spread. You need to wear a mask. We need to do lockdowns. Jussie Smollett was attacked. COVID didn't come from a lab. Are these the same people? Why do you believe them and not me? This is the part that drives me nuts. This is my own audience too. How am I going to get booed on my own show like this? Steve in Carrollton, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
What up, man? Thanks for having me.
Hey, Steve, go ahead.
Well, as a data center worker, I'll tell you that data centers don't employ people. There's 2 or 3 folks that are there on a regular basis. The rest of us are already employed by data centers globally, if that makes sense. And we go in, do work, and leave.
Cool.
There's no more employees being added to the list. No real employees being added to the list of employees on the roll anywhere. But they're going to make a fiscal difference in our economy. And frankly, if there were, the only ones they'd hire are these daggum Indians from wherever they came from, instead of the people that are American homegrowns. So it wouldn't benefit us anyway. I'm not obviously one of those people who called or who said that the sky was falling in the past several years with a lot of liberal garbage that's come along. But I happen to know that data centers suck up a lot of electricity, and we're fighting brownouts and blackouts around here, be it the winter storm or every daggum summer, where we're fighting to make sure that our lights are able to stay on. And now you're going to bring in several data centers to enjoy more of the electricity that we can't afford to give up or even use for ourselves. I mean, it's lunacy. So your answer is, well, let them move to India. Well, frankly,
no, that is not my solution. I do not want them to move to India. I want them to, as many of them as possible, to be built here.
Right, but you're saying if I don't want them here, they're going to end up in India someplace. Well, no, if they are, they are. But the fact is, every time I pick up my cell phone, it works. Every time I use my laptop, it works. So it's not like we need more data centers to make our cell phones work. We don't need more data centers to search the internet. We're already able to do all that. So adding more data centers doesn't give you any features that you don't already have, that you aren't already.
Oh, so they're just building them for funsies? There's no additional utility from data centers. They're just spending billions and billions of dollars. Meta is spending $10 billion outside of El Paso for no improvement of performance. I find that hard to believe, Steve.
The way you sold it is that, well, if you don't get these data centers, your cell phones aren't going to work. You want them to work. Well, no, that's so sure. There's AI benefit. They're going to add more AI.
Of course, but Steve, if we don't build the data centers somewhere, then your phone capacity is going to be limited. Now, if we don't build them here, they're going to build them somewhere because they're not going to let your phones go dark. So they are going to build them. Are we going to get the benefit of that, or is our data farming going to be beholden to India? You know, you might have noticed that anything that crosses our border can and will be used against us in geopolitical law. Ken in Arlington, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Yeah, and that's why that these data centers are being built where all these people from India are moving to, so they have easy driving.
Well, then get rid of the people from India, not the data centers.
You're not going to get an argument out of me.
Okay, cool.
I mean, that's the best way. I mean, now, are they red dot Indians or feathered Indians?
Like Blackjack or Slurpee? Yeah, the Slurpee, definitely.
But that's what I'm saying, is that they have to flood these, just like Minnesota, for example. They flooded Minnesota with all these people from Somalia to change the electoral vote.
Yeah.
They flooded all these people in North Texas from India, and now they're going to build the data center.
It sounds like you have a problem with our immigration system, not our data centers.
I don't think there should be anybody that's coming in here that's going to be on
What's your thoughts on data centers, though? Just the immigration angle on it?
No, I think we need data centers.
Are you cool with them being built here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, great,
Just
Ken.
Just like the NASA thing.
All right.
I think there was a purpose for that. There was a purpose for the space shuttle to go up there and all that other stuff and everything else. Everybody downplays that, but I think there is a purpose for that.
All right. Well, let me go find someone who disagrees because that's more fun, Ken. Thank you. Robbie in Denton, you're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Go.
I disagree with them because of the amount of water they use and the amount of power.
Okay.
The amount of water is like 300 million gallons. That's a lot of water.
So what?
I mean, huh?
I mean, I hate to be so dismissive, but it really is a so what. You could say that about an aluminum smelting plant. You know, they use amazing amounts of electricity and amazing amounts of water to turn the aluminum oxide in your dirt into your Dr. Pepper can. Do we care about that? Or
I don't drink cans.
Well, you use aluminum somewhere in your life.
I'm just messing with you.
Okay.
But anyway, if you're if you're reliant on the lake from Bugtussle and they build a data center out there and they drain your lake and you don't have any water, what are you going to do?
All right,
you're not going to be able to. You're not
Robbie?
going to be able to use bottled water.
Has
all
no
the
one
time.
ever read like The Wealth of Nations? Have none of y'all read like a free market capitalist textbook? If they run out of water, if they build a place where they can't have enough water to support it, then the data center will fail. So you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to build it in a place where they don't have enough water to support it. A lot of them are coming up with their own utilities to bring in their own water so they use it on a loop system and don't have to draw too much from the outside world. The new Meta plant outside of El Paso is going to have its own power plant with 1.21 gigawatts of capacity. I'm kidding. That was 1 gigawatt of capacity. It's close. I just wanted to say the quote from Back to the Future. All right, more on the data center debate in North Texas coming up. I think I'm going to hear from the callers next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Who's afraid of the big bad data centers? Apparently a lot of people. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, where in this, you have to try and separate yourself from your current bubble. I know we always accuse other people of living in a bubble, but we are in somewhat of our own 2026 bubble here. But I want you to imagine what it was like when you go back, I don't know, 100, 150 years, and the Industrial Revolution, which started in Great Britain with the Brits doing fun stuff with steam. And eventually it trickles out to our neighborhoods here in America, and all of a sudden someone wants to build a factory. You want to build a factory? Well, no, you can't build it, not in the middle of a town. You know how much electricity that's going to take? You know how much water that's going to take? Do you know how much noise that's going to take? Did you know those things, some of them stink and you can smell them? What's that going to do to traffic? What's that? We don't have the infrastructure to support it. You know what? I know they're going to build it somewhere. They just need to build it way, way, way outside of town. Well, they can't build it way, way outside of town. They don't have access to all the materials that they easily need. And, you know, depending on what the facility is, that might not be the best option for them. But in hindsight, isn't that silly? Because you may say, yes, yeah. They do make noise. And some of them do stink, and they do use a lot of electricity and a lot of water. And maybe they don't create enough jobs to make you happy for the trade-off. But you know what's worse? Living in the society that's pre-industrial revolution. So there were countries that did not embrace the industrial revolution immediately when it happened. They put up walls, and not literal walls, metaphorical walls, and tried to maintain their traditional culture. Japan was a great example. They resisted the Industrial Revolution for a long time before we kind of forced it on them. I mean, it ended up being a good thing in the long run for them because now they make everything from Sony to Nintendo. But they did not benefit from it, and they were eventually overtaken by it anyway. You can't stop the data centers. There are going to be data centers. You do not want to live in the society pre-data center. You want to live in the space age, the information age, because used to be, you know, the Stone Age, Paleolithic, and then the Neolithic was when some of us figured out farming, so we didn't have to just chase our food around and kill it all the time. So then we could build cities, and then we got into we went from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution. Now we're in sort of this new internet revolution. And we are about to stack another level on top of that with this new AI capability. You realize that second guy that they found that got shot down in Iran, you know, there was Maverick and Goose, and they picked up Maverick immediately, and Goose had to go hide out and climb up a 7,000-foot mountain. They found him using an AI-powered tool to locate the signature of a heart murmur. Now, if you don't have data centers, he doesn't get found that way. We might still have found him, but not with that tool. We have this new tool that we can use. These tools exist. You can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle. We need data centers, and we're better off having them here than somewhere else. Someone wrote in, sent me an email. Who was that? The Canada guy. Yeah, James, another James, from Saskatchewan. He says, yeah, we have no worries about data centers in Canada. We aren't doing anything up here except welcoming the Chinese in. We're recruiting foreigners for our military, mercenaries, if you will. Nothing good going on up here. Awesome show, James. I listen daily for a piece of sanity. Well, thank you. But you're running into one of the, for our Roman Empire lovers out there, one of the checklists that we're looking for in the fall of the American Empire is importing foreigners to serve in our military, because that's one of the things that kind of separated the Roman Republic from the Roman empires when they started letting foreigners be in their military in exchange for citizenship. That did not work out well. We do not need to repeat that. Good job, Canada. This is Mike in Dallas. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, I think it's interesting to hear none of the dots are getting properly connected with the data centers other than the reoccurring theme of AI. And if someone's going to make an argument, well, it doesn't produce new jobs, they're not looking at what the data center is doing, because it's producing tons of jobs. If we're going to stay competitive, we need those data centers, just like we need to grow our own food. Why would we want that coming from something foreign and not domestic?
I love your point about how, hell yeah, it's creating jobs. It's not jobs where people are going to be sitting their butt physically on the rectangle of dirt that the data center occupies, But think of all the new jobs that AI has allowed. You're absolutely right, Mike. It's so hard to point at the opportunity cost by not building these and the opportunities that are created with data centers. It's just that's such a good point, because now there's a whole new level of jobs that now that AI exists that didn't exist before. And taxis had a good run of it until Uber and Lyft showed up. But you could never have Uber and Lyft without the smartphone, without widespread adoption of the smartphone. And then someone came in and made the app and made this whole new industry that never existed before. And it's so great. Think of all the people who have supplemented or made all of their income from being an Uber or Lyft driver. Well, AI is going to be the same thing. There's going to be tons of job creation, even if it's not at the actual data center. Thank you very much, Mike. That was a fantastic addition. Let's go down to Fred and Waxahachie. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Well, you're getting too many people that support data centers. I don't know where your beginners are today. I live in and work for a suburban county, and the argument that you quoted about getting them further away from the city, the calls and emails that I get at the office opposing a data center going in on 2,500 rural acres that's building its own natural gas power plant on a property that already has a flood control lake. There's people who are just the misinformation that they're spewing about water use and electrical use. They still don't want it. There's a large number of people that are just against a data center, period, out of some unreasonable fear. I don't know how to get past it.
I don't know where it came from. I don't know who started this. Because look, I've always been wildly attuned to this because the only professional training I have it's not in radio. I'm an AI. I'm not an AI. I'm an IT guy. I went to college for computers. I can code, all that crap. But I had one of the coolest classes I had back then. It was a hardware class where we learned to take apart and build computers from scratch and swap out motherboards and do all kinds of networking and crap like that. And my professor did one of the coolest exercises ever. He said, now I want you to imagine what we could do if we had infinity storage. And so what he was talking about in the mid 90s is cloud storage. And he said, I want you to think about what we could do if we had infinity bandwidth, because we were on 56K modems back then. And so we were thinking, wow, I guess you would watch TV on the internet in the future, and everyone wouldn't see the same commercials. You would all get fed your own commercials, and they would all be tailored to you. In fact, you could track these people all over the place. And in fact, you wouldn't even have to have a hard drive on your computer. You would just need to be able to jump on the network, and you can go store it somewhere else, because if you have infinity bandwidth, accessing the hard drive on your computer or on the other side of the planet is just about the same level of difficulty. And so we were imagining all of these things in like 1997 that are just now coming to be. The cloud thing, a lot of us saw that coming. Being fed your own commercials through Netflix, we all saw that coming. And so I think a lot of people, this is just hitting them in the face, and they were never thinking, wow, we really do need just giant buildings that's just sitting there and crunch numbers on computers. Absolutely. Absolutely, Fred.
So, yeah, the education is the key to defeat fear, but if they got to want to listen. I get the same arguments. They're going to use water, not this one. They're going to burn electricity. They're making their own.
Well, I don't even know if it's like a lack of education, much as there is a very healthy human instinct to push back against new things. And that makes sense. Like from an evolutionary standpoint, this is the way you've been living your life for the first 65 years of your life without data centers. And now all of a sudden you're being told we can't live without them. That doesn't make sense. You've lived most of your life without them. Why would I need them? So no, I mean, I get where some of this comes from. My frustration is how persistent it is in the face of very obvious debate points that flush it. Thank you very much. That's Fred and Waxahachie. I got more callers coming up on the data center controversy and a good email. Rick wanted to know, do they cause residential power rates to rise and they don't employ that many people? Well, we'll answer both of those coming up next. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Where did this opposition to data centers come from? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. But seriously, what have been the negative consequences? Have there been a lot of deaths at data centers? Have there been a lot of billionaires flying private jets to data centers and having underage sex? Where did this come from? Because Gary sent in a Facebook message, and here in North Texas, that's one of the big fights, and you see it in the news, and you should be suspicious of the way it's reported on TV, but he said China may be behind the anti-data center protests. Data centers provide the ability to create new jobs and blah, 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 blah. It's a really long message, but right there, whether he's right or not, China does benefit by the anti-data center push here. I'm not saying they are behind it, but that would weaken us. The more data centers we have in our geography, the more powerful we are, the more other people are going to rely on us. We should think of it like oil. We need to be able to crank so much data. We can crank all of our data and export some of that excess capacity to the outside world and sell it to them. It's the same as with oil. And if we don't build the data centers here, if we're going to insist that they're built overseas, then we're going to get a Straits of Hormuz next time we tick off whoever has the data centers. You understand that? I really don't get where the pushback is. So before we went to the break, Rick from Past Christian had sent an email, james@wbap.com. He said two things. I've heard they have caused residential power rates to rise, and I've heard they don't employ that many people to operate. I've heard both of those. Residential power rates rising is something that is possible. I have seen both where people say our rates went up because of this data center. I've seen the data center say, well, the rates were going up the 5 years before that too. Why did all of a sudden our data center get blamed for this year number 6 of it going up? I've also seen that a lot of these data centers are including their own little natural gas power plants. Some of them are building their own little mini power plants to not only cover their own electricity generation, but in times when times are slow, they'll be able to actually put electricity back onto the grid. So if we can somehow incentivize that or allow them to make profit from that, then there's reason to believe, Rick and Past Christian, data centers could make your energy costs go lower because there's more supply, similar demand. So yeah, and they don't employ that many people operate. I'll agree with that. That has no effect on whether or not we need them or whether or not they should be allowed, because the other good point that was made by a caller in the last segment, think of all the jobs that they support, whether it's people in AI or people who, how many of your friends work on an app now? Kim in Hillsboro, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hi, taking up farmland is one thing. They need to put it on undesirable land that you can't farm on, in my opinion. And another thing is, if you were to put it by the ocean, you'd have plenty of water. It wouldn't affect our, the drinking water, our underground water.
I don't think they can use seawater. I think they would need like a desalination plant to clean that out.
Well, I know that Israel gives away their desalination technology to anybody, and they do like 5 million gallons. I don't know.
Well, Kim, you know where this is going. Data centers are going to go up in space. Do you understand how that works?
No, I didn't. I haven't researched it real well.
Yeah. So, one of the big problems of data centers is the real estate. Not only do you have to buy it and maintain it and mow it and pay the taxes on it. Do you have to pay taxes on a satellite?
I don't know.
You don't. And the cooling issue can be easily resolved because you're in space, so you can cool things off fast anytime you want. Also, the solar power generation would be more consistent. You don't have to worry about clouds. And it's on a regular rotation. You only miss it when the Earth is between you and the sun. And so as long as you can beam the info up and back in an efficient manner, then it's easy to believe that these things are going to a lot of these are going to end up in space.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, chew on that, Kim, and call me back. Jessica in Roanoke, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Jessica.
Hey,
Okay, so I wanted to add a little something to your argument for you.
Please do. Go ahead.
So, besides making the internet work and whatnot, it's basic. Data centers are basically like real estate for other companies to be able to back up all their information, from something as small as a dentist's office to as big as AT&T or Boeing. You know, they're highly secure. And so when Texans brag about how many companies are moving to Texas, they're going to need said data space.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, and we need to jump on this because this is the technology of the future here. And the one thing Texas has done really well is be able to adapt. When our economy was all agricultural, we were awesome at farming, we were awesome at ranching, we were the cowboys, right? And then when it moved into, this whole new financial game, now we have all kinds of awesome insurance companies here. We're getting Goldman Sachs, we've got a bunch of big banks here, and so we've moved into the financial space. And then later, when the computers came around, we had Texas Instruments, we got Dell, we've got Intel, we've got EDS, or we had EDS. We've got all kinds of awesome tech companies here. And the next space is this, what's building on top of the information age, the supercomputing age, the AI, the data centers. We need to be on top of that, or somebody else will. We're not guaranteed to be the most important, relevant, and productive state forever. We have to keep making the right decisions and adjusting with the times. And data centers, I think, are a big part of that, Jessica.
Right. And I'm a little biased. I do work for a company. We basically bring internet into buildings and throughout fiber optics, all your access controls and whatnot.
Okay.
And
So it's awesome.
That means more work for me, and I have also seen plenty of data centers with enough people in them to where they have full-size cafeterias and indoor.
All right, Jessica, I got to run. Out of time.
I'm going to take up on you. All right.
Thank you very much. That's Jessica in Roanoke. More on data centers next. But where's the disagreeing people here? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Look, the best argument against data centers is the Matrix. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. For those of you who didn't see that documentary from 1999 or whenever it was, when was the Matrix? Morpheus was explaining to Neo where everything went wrong, and I think it went wrong after we built these data centers in Granbury. I think that's where the world fell apart.
We have only bits and pieces of information, but what we know for certain is that at some point in the early 21st century, all of mankind was united in celebration. We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI.
AI? You mean artificial intelligence?
A singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines. We don't know who struck first, us or them, but we know that it was us that scorched the sky. At the time, they were dependent on solar power, and it was believed that they would be unable to survive without an energy source as abundant as the sun. Throughout human history, we have been dependent on machines to survive. Fate, it seems, is not without a sense of irony.
See? So we can't build a data center in Granbury. That's what's going to happen. It's going to start the robot revolution. We're going to be trying to escape the 15-minute city, avoiding the UN robot dogs. Yeah, that makes more sense than we're going to run out of water. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Steve and Forney, thanks for waiting so long. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James. So here's my take on this, and I agree with you. Who cares if they use the water? We're going to get rain. Now, the other thing is on the crying about the power. Why not build...
Hang on. Can we just focus on that? For a lot of people, they just rolled their eyes when you said that. What I heard is like the same thing that was said when we were building factories, the same thing that was said when we were building lead smelters and aluminum smelters, the same thing that was being said when we were building anything that was different than the past. Oh, we don't have enough electricity to support this. We don't have enough water to support this. Well, then let them go out of business then. You know, I was thinking, where was that? Princeton, where they put like a 9-month moratorium on building new houses. They're like, well, we don't have enough water generation to support new houses. Well, they're going to build them there. And if they don't have water, they're going to have a hard time selling the houses, aren't they? So let that be their problem, and you go worry about your problem. If they don't have enough water to run the data center, I doubt they would build it without having a plan for that. But anyway, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so we've got the water thing, but what about power? Now, what about not micro nuclear power plants?
Well, I love that sound. That's not allowed under regulations as it is, but it has been one of the strangest economic mysteries to me, because we made the first nuclear powered aircraft carrier in like the 60s or something like that. So we've been able to build really small portable power plants that run on nuclear since before I was born. So why do we still have this old model where we have a giant power plant out in the middle of nowhere and we lose just tons of electricity with long transmission lines being all over the place? And if something goes wrong with one or two, then thousands of people are without power. If we just had these little micro energy generating, all encompass mini nuclear facilities, we could have thousands of them spread out. And if one or two of them goes out or a line goes down here or there, it can be rerouted and only a minimal amount of people will lose electricity. Oh no, I've been yelling about this since long before data centers, but I still totally agree with that point too. Mini nuclear reactors would be nice.
And if they went out of business, you know, the U.S. government runs these nuclear power plants. The business goes out of business. The U.S. can now put it straight back to our own infrastructure. I think that our government needs to push for it.
Yeah, well, I would like to see more of that privatized, but I get what you're saying. All good points, Stephen. Thank you very much. Stephen and Miso Forney. This is Cheryl in Granbury. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, James. I'm Cheryl Shadden. I live in Granbury, Texas. And so let me give you a personal perspective on data centers.
Okay.
I live south of Granbury. It's semi-rural, and a data center moved in here. So right now they have 60% immersion cooling. The other percentage is fan cooling. So they make a god-awful amount of noise, not just noise that's audible noise, decibel levels, infrasound, which is vibration, It blasts within a 10-mile radius. It hits 2 different counties. It comes through your walls. It keeps you up at night. It's caused hearing loss. It's caused problems with livestock. And then you go, well, they can put these things wherever they want. It's, property rights. Well, what about the property rights in the community surrounding them? And I'm not talking about incorporated areas like cities that have more stringent sound rules and regulations and all of that. I'm talking about rural Texas. And so when they move into rural areas like this, they do that for the sole purpose that there are little rules, regulations, and they can basically rake a community over the coals. So I personally, here at my home and my property, I've lost 75% of my property value. And the true fact of it is everybody in this area, their homes are unsellable. Even in the golf course communities surrounding these data centers here in Hood County, your homes are unsellable. You have to disclose. So when people say you could just simply sell your home and move on, you have no property value anymore at this point in time. And that is infringed on my property rights. That's infringed on my neighbor's property rights. And so you go immersion cooling. Well, that's all fine and great. But they do still use water. And so here in the state of Texas, power plants and data centers have a number one priority of water. So that means if you personally in your home, you run out of water, these data centers and gas power plants will continue to have water at the expense of the other people that need water in the community. So that's not simply how it works. And then you look at the data centers and the gas power plants that are powering them. Fine, build little nuclear mini reactors. Okay, fine. But they still use a lot of water as well. And so even if these immersion-cooled data centers, and you go, well, they're not using water, they are using water. They still have to, just like your car and your radiator, they still have to dump that water, and they have to fill back up with fresh water. So there is still some dumping, and there's some retention ponds and all of that. So even if a data center doesn't use water, which most of them do, the power plant that's powering them does. And so for the 3 gas power plants here in Hood County, that's 3.5 million gallons of water per day that's being pulled off the Brazos River and being spit back out. And so we have a 4th gas power plant being planned for Hood County, 5th, 6th, 7th gas power plant. And so now you're looking at, for a turbine gas power
all right,
plant.
can I talk? I gave you 3 minutes here. And
Go.
Okay, so for most of the stuff that you're talking about here, it applies to almost every industrial activity ever. So I'm from out in East Texas, and we have chicken plants out there. Most of them are Pilgrim's Pride, some of them are Tyson's or whatever. But you know what happens when they build a chicken plant? You can smell that thing for miles around. And if you had a house that was in that radius, your property values go down.
Right.
Okay, so do we get rid of chicken plants? Do you still eating chicken?
Can you put them somewhere else?
Show me where the unmanned facility is, or the unmanned area is, that's still going to be able to do that.
Do you want to live next to a chicken farm or a data center?
Absolutely not.
There you go.
So we shouldn't build them because I don't want to live next to them?
Well, where are you going to put them? If you
I don't want to live next to a power plant either, but I don't think we should cut off our electricity. I don't want to live next to a hospital, but I sure do enjoy modern medicine.
So how do you expect them to make a community happy or make the neighbors happy? What are you going to do? What's your solution?
Well, there's not any good solution here because no one's going to give up chicken nuggets, so we're not going to give up the plants. So there's going to have to be some give up. You know what I'm saying? That if we want to eat chicken, we're going to have farms. If we, we're going to have to make industrial strength fertilizer if we want to have bread every time we go to the store. So all you can ask these private sector companies to do is to minimize it. Can they put up some sound walls around it that would minimize the humming that the outside world feels? Because you actually lean into some of my libertarian sensibilities when, how much are they allowed to do? Well, if they are actively doing something to lower your standard of living, like imposing an involuntary cost on you without your permission, well, then that's where we need to have a discussion. Other than just property values went down, that's not a thing. But if you can hear something, if you can smell something, if you, seeing doesn't really bother me that much because I can't build something if someone else can see it. So there's legit concerns there, but none of these put me in the position of being against data centers. It just means, well, we need to be a little smarter about how we accommodate data centers. That's all. And Cheryl just
Who's we that's going to be smarter?
no, the people who go and vote and put the people in office that make the regulations that control this stuff. I was being very vague there, but that was a worthy follow up. But Cheryl, just replace any of your arguments against data centers with chicken plants and see if that still flies, because none of that was a deal breaker. It all sounded bad. It sounded like some negative consequences, but not a deal breaker. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. All right, we're about to wrap up this data center talk here. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Look, I only wanted to spend like 2 or 3 segments on this today, but the calls were just swamped in there. The emails were swamped in there. I think the only thing that got more response this week was I was asking what are power plant theme songs for Power Plant Day, and Electric Avenue, turn out the lights, whatever. But the data centers, these stories keep popping up. The data center controversy in Fort Worth, one in Granbury, there's one in Hood County, there's one in Kaufman County. There's a big one that's being built out by El Paso. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's building a big one by College Station that's going to have like a 1 gigawatt natural gas power plant on it. And it's a huge story here. Just trying to get a beat where everyone's at. Where did all this scaremongering of data centers even come from? Les and Kaufman, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yes, sir. I want to set facts straight right from the beginning.
Uh-oh.
I love chicken nuggets.
Okay, sounds good so far.
So the 2,400, I wanted to add an asterisk to what the gentleman earlier, and I said gentleman because I respect everybody, 32-year public servant. I respect people like that. I respect the way you handle things and stuff like that with controversy, whatever like that. The 2,400-acre place that the gentleman was talking about, and talking about data center, it was not just data center. It was about a sustainable city, and that was going to be built here in Kaufman County. And it was shut down because it was not anything to do with a data center or anything. They were excluding anybody other than just the Muslim community.
Yeah, I kind of knew there was a Sharia angle on that. I didn't want to get people distracted on another topic here, but yeah, you're all true. What else you got, Les?
Yes, sir. So I was saying that was just shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about that asterisk with the guy was it was not just about a data center. I know we have to have that around for what we do. We live in AI right now. And, you know, I just wish people wouldn't spin things the way they do and just understand that, you know, it can happen the right way. But
all right, good stuff. Let me take one more call here. That's Les over in Kaufman. Yes, this is Donna in Grand Prairie. You're going to be the last word on this, Donna, and we got 20 seconds. Go.
Hi, I very much agree with Cheryl. And the fact that you said you wouldn't want one in your backyard is pretty much the problem. A lot of these deals have been done through the back door with no transparency until the deal was practically done, so that the citizens are not having their say. And if you don't want one in your backyard, then you better be paying attention.
Well, if they build one in my backyard, I will just move. You lose a lot of your property value. Well, that'll stink for me. Nan actually had the best idea. You should build it where City Hall is right now. Brilliant. I'm James Parker. That's going to do it for my time today. You can experience the season's biggest blockbusters at Look Dine-In Cinemas. There's open in Bedford and Arlington. Catch your favorite movies while enjoying dinner, drinks, all in one place. Get some free tickets from us. You can win 2 passes by texting MOVIE. That'll put you in the contest to win 2 passes from us. Text MOVIE to 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. Mark Levin's next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, pain is just a part of life, but that doesn't mean you have to live with it all day, every day. James Parker here for QC Kinetics. The cutoff for you should be, have you ever turned down an event because of your pain? Have you ever said, I don't want to go to Six Flags this weekend, my knee's bothering me, or I don't know if I can go hiking with you, I don't know if my knee will go up those hills, or I don't know if I could play catcher in the softball game tonight because I can't be squatted for a whole hour. No, don't do that. Do not sacrifice your quality of life and give it up just because you have a little bit of pain. At least call QC Kinetics, go in, take advantage of the free consultation, and see if they can help you. And then if they can, then we'll talk about, financing it, getting what the treatments look like. And maybe this will be on your way to a new pain-free future where you do all the events and all the activities you want to do without having to worry about pain. But it starts by you calling QC Kinetics, 972-972-8610. 972-972-8610.